Hey, we pulling? What's up, I'm Jim Pro, and this is the Ready Check Pull Guide to Belo'ren, Child of Alar on Normal and Heroic. This fight has two phases, is mainly single target, and you bloodlust on the egg during phase 2. The main idea of the fight is that during phase 1, you're fighting Belo'ren for a while, and then when his health hits 0, phase 2 starts, and he transforms into an egg and starts casting Rebirth. You DPS the egg as much as you can until the cast finishes, and you start phase 1 again. The egg's health is persistent, so any damage you do carries over to the next time he transforms, and you keep doing this until you fully kill the egg. The boss also splits the raid in half several times throughout the fight, half void and half light, and you need to soak and interrupt things based on your color. There's no pre-raid setup, so let's just jump right into phase 1. You start by pulling the boss to the middle of the room. The boss will instantly start channeling a cast that does big raid damage, and everyone gets randomly assigned one of two teams, either the purple void team or the yellow light team. The easiest way to think about this is that you're almost always trying to interact with your color's mechanics and trying to avoid the other color's mechanics. The first major mechanic is that Belo'ren puts a big circle around one or two players, and after a few seconds does massive damage and knocks them away. The targeted player needs several other players of the same color to help split the damage. Dealing with one of these is pretty straightforward, but eventually two players will get targeted with the big circles, one void and one light. You can Venn diagram these on the outside of the room and just have void soak void and light soak light. But during testing, you could actually just stack the circles behind the boss and have the whole raid split both soaks. This might get changed before the fight goes live, but this would make the fight a lot easier because after the soaks happen, an Ember Phoenix ad spawns from each circle. These ads need to be interrupted and bursted down quickly. If you stack them, you can easily cleave both of the Ember ads down right when they spawn, the pools take up less room, and when the ads die, they turn into an egg and start a long cast to respawn. You need to kill these eggs before they respawn, and stacking the eggs makes that way easier. The two casts from the Ember ads are Light and Void Blast and Light and Void Eruption. Only a player of the same color as the Ember can interrupt their Eruption cast. Eruption is the cast that actually matters, so make sure to call out who's interrupting the next Eruption, because if the cast ever goes off, you're dead. You're dead. Outside of that, the boss will target a few players with some quill lines of the opposite color. These are basically daggers that the boss shoots at the player after a few seconds. The player targeted should stop moving, and a single player of the opposite color needs to stand in between the quill and the targeted player, effectively intercepting the damage. The only other dangerous mechanic in phase 1 is the line of orbs that travel from one side of the room to the other. You need to create a small opening by having a few players run into their matching color orbs, maybe 2 or 3 orbs to be safe, and then the raid just runs through the open slots as the orbs pass by. Touching an orb of the opposite color does massive damage to you, and you're dead. The tanks have a 3 frontal combo to worry about: Light Edict, Void Edict, and Void Light Edict. These do big magical and physical damage. The way you deal with this is to have the first tank take their color's frontal, and then the second tank taunts and takes their color's frontal. That's basically it for the first set, but every frontal set after that throws in a unique third cast, which is Void Light, meaning that both tanks need to soak their frontal colors at the same time, one on the left and one on the right. Whoever continues tanking the boss after the frontals will take big melee damage for the next 5 attacks, so the healers need to be ready for this. Phase 2 starts when Belo'ren dies and crashes into the middle of the room as an egg. The egg immediately begins casting Rebirth, and the goal is to do as much damage to it as possible before the Rebirth cast finishes. Any damage you do to the egg carries over to the next phase 2, and the fight's only over when the egg fully dies. During this phase, the floor splits into light and void sections that explode repeatedly. Everyone needs to stay on their own color for each explosion while continuing to damage the egg. At the same time, the raid is taking heavy dot damage, so healers need to be ready with cooldowns, especially ones that can be used while moving. Unless your damage is nutty, the Rebirth cast will complete and Belo'ren will respawn starting phase 1 again. Each successful Rebirth cast applies a stacking 10% healing reduction to the entire raid, making the fight a little harder as it goes on. There's also Eternal Burns for the healers, which is a big heal absorb that goes out on random players and needs to be spot healed off. Then the fight just repeats until the egg is dead. And that's pretty much it. Here's a quick recap for you to review or screenshot for later. You can find all of our recaps over at the Ready Check Pull Discord. Big thank you to our supporters on Patreon for making these videos possible. And don't forget, for Midnight, we're putting way more resources into our Patreon, so if you're interested in extended heroic walkthroughs, mythic walkthroughs, and a bunch more, check out the links in the description. Peace.